Today we're going to review the process of using multimode dispatch. First step is to understand the screens. The screen is broken down into three main sections. Upper left hand section shows you your listing of trips. Each trip will have a line item here as they're created. And the next section would be to the right hand side, shows you the details within that trip that you've selected on the left hand side. Below are a listing of your available freight bills as well as your resources. So to get started, the first thing you want to do is make sure you are working out of the terminal you intended to work out of. Go up to the upper left hand corner, you'll see a bar that has a little icon of a building, red building. You click that, drop down menu will pop up, click that, select the terminal. In this case we were going to go with Atlanta. Click OK. You're now in the right terminal. Below, you can click below, two options of freight and resources. If I click freight, there's a listing of freight bills that are now available to put on a trip. So I've decided I need to create a trip. The way you do that is go to the right hand side. There's a listing of routes. For this example, we're going to use MemRoute to create a trip. There may be other listings here in the future that'll show maybe Atlanta route, etc. So you click it, then you right click it, create trip for MemRoute. You'll notice on the left hand side there's now a trip listing, 825203. That's our trip. This is the details of the trip. There are no bills assigned, so you see two yellow bars. The first bar represents the origin of the trip. The second yellow bar, represents the end of the trip. So now the trip has been created, I need to add bills to that trip. Go down below, make sure you're on the Deliveries tab. There are 3 bills available. To add a bill to a trip, you simply click it, hold down your left mouse button, drag it up to the trip, let it go. You'll notice the job has disappeared from here and is now on the trip, upper right hand side of the trip details. So the beginning leg is yellow, the finished leg is yellow, and in between are the individual bills. In this case, there's 1 bill. If I want to add a second bill, go back down below, grab it again with your left mouse button, drag it up, let it go. Now there's 2 bills. You can multi-select bills by using the Control-Click button. So now that I have a trip created, I have the 2 bills, I want to assign a driver. Do that, go back down to the bottom section, click Resources tab. The sub-tabs are listed. You want to pick Drivers. Here's a listing of the available drivers for Atlanta. You simply left-click and hold, drag it up to the trip. The driver has now been assigned. To view that, if you go up to Trip Summary tab on upper right-hand side, click that, you'll notice the driver's listing is right here. And it tells you the start zone, current zone, and end zone, and the current status, which is still loading. I'm going to click back to freight bills so I can see my bills. Okay, trip has been created, jobs have been added, driver has been added. Next thing to do is put that route or trip out for delivery. To do that, go back to the trip, right click, slide down till you see change status, click that. Trip status change box pops up with some pertinent details. You'll notice that the status defaults to the next appropriate status. You could change that if you need to by hitting the drop down key, and there are other statuses, but in this case we're going to put this trip out for delivery. Simply say update. You'll get a warning message that you're not assigning a piece of power equipment or a trailer, and that's okay. In this case, we're not adding anything, so we say proceed anyway. And now the the status has been changed to out for delivery, as you can notice here on the bills. If you go up to Trip Summary, you'll also notice that trip's status is out for delivery. Back to freight bills. Now the trip is being completed. You've learned that all the deliveries have been made. You have 2 options. You could individually change the status of a bill as it's delivered by right-clicking on that bill. change the status, or in this case, we are completing the trip in full at one time and applying the same status to all the bills on the job. You go back to the trip side, right click, change status. It's defaulting to delivered, which is the appropriate status. Hitting update. You'll notice the bills have disappeared, the trip has now disappeared, and all you have at the bottom are the available freight bills. Those are the steps for creating a trip, assigning bills, assigning driver, changing status, and working those bills through the system via a trip. Thanks.